Today, I interview my dear friend, Chris Long. We were colleagues 10 years ago doing a sales recruitment role, and he was with me, sitting right next to me, working on things that he wasn't that passionate about, but he kind of was trying to work around the science behind it. From then, I kind of knew he was a little bit analytical and a little bit scientific. Today, he has successfully transitioned his career into the knowledge industry, training thousands and thousands of people in safely investing in cryptocurrency. He's also the founder of Cryptotrader.sg and Kryptonite.asia. Lastly, he has also won the prestigious Columbia Threat and Leader Investment Award, one of the many awards he has won over the years. I hope you have absolute fun listening to him explain and talk about his life. And also, I hope you see the changes in him, because what I saw was a guy who was shy, who had no confidence back in the day, 10 years ago, and today he's comfortable in his craft. He shares all the secrets he has, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Chris, I mean, I've known you for so long. I just wanted to ask you a bit more about like your journey over the last few years, because I think starting out in career-wise, it wasn't that easy for you. I could see it with you. I was trying to like work together with you. Remember, we were on the same table base. We were sort of sitting opposite one another. So how has the last 10 years changed for you? You look happy, you look more confident. What has changed?
So has it been 10 years? Wow, that's a long time. Yeah. What has changed? Well, I think a lot personally. So the last, I mean, since the start of my career to now, one of the things I guess along the journey is I've gained a lot more clarity about what I want in life. Second is I'm a little bit clearer about what I am good at, and everyone we have various different things that we tend to gravitate towards, we tend to be a little bit better at. So I'm not sure if you give the context at the start, but basically when we were together, we were in the field of recruitment or headhunting, very much sales oriented job. And I have to say that my time there wasn't the worst, but it wasn't really the best as well. So we, to give context to anyone who's watching this, we were in a quite an international kind of community. So many of our bosses were not Singaporeans, they're actually from overseas, and they have a very different culture from what we have here in Singapore. So I think one of the most difficult things for me then, being someone who is a true kind of like never been out of the country, we've only mostly been in Singapore, it was a bit of a difficulty to adapt to the culture. I don't know if it's an international culture or if it's just like a company culture or just that group of people, but that was difficult during that time. Since then till now, another thing I would say I've changed is I realized that in the world there are many different cultures, many different types of people, and you may not fit in the best in one particular group or one particular style or one particular culture, but you may actually do really really well in another. So that was one of the things that I've learned along the way, and time with S3 was really good in giving me exposure to that. Yeah.
Understand, but I know you overcome a few challenges. So your first one was in financial sales, which you're very good in financial numbers, but I still thought it was tough for you. And then you went into recruitment, which is again a sales role, which was tough for you. So you took two risks, and it didn't pay off. How did you manage to overcome this difficulty and then continue to grow as a person?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the irony is that I never really liked sales, right? So I'm not the kind of person that want to convince you to buy something so that I can earn a commission from it, or I can earn a fee from it. So that part was a little bit hard for me to overcome, because when I'm in financial sales, I was a personal banker then. So what am I selling? I'm selling insurance, financial products. But at the back of my mind, I know that there are certain financial products that are just better than insurance and endowment plans in terms of returns. So then it's a struggle. And when it's a struggle internally, it's hard to sell. So the next was recruitment. And I think recruitment was a little bit more intangible for me, right? Like you need to convince people to go for certain jobs. I need to convince the company to give you, and was very competitive. Everyone was chasing after the same candidate pool. I don't really think that was a sales factor that was difficult. But I guess when I was there, what was a little bit more challenging was I wasn't a subject matter expert in oil and gas during that time. So when I'm supposed to search for oil and gas guy, I have no engineering background. It was difficult for me. But now, if you put me in say investment banking recruitment, I may be able to better assess whether or not a person is good in an investment bank, and I may potentially do pretty okay in terms of recruitment. But I think in general, yeah, sales was a bit of a challenge. I didn't really like to convince people to do things that I don't personally feel is the best. The irony of it is right now I'm a trainer, and there's an element of sales when it comes to getting people to join you for your training. You need to present in a certain way. You need to showcase what you can provide clearly, so that people can choose um, what is suitable for them. The difference though between now and in the past is the things that I teach or the things that I provide. I'm confident that it is of value, and I'm confident in comparison to the market. For example, to other trainers, to other whichever things that other people promise. Uh, in terms of pricing, in terms of product, in terms of quality, I'm assured that I can provide that appropriate value for whatever it is that people pay, right? So that gives me a lot more confidence, and that gives me also a lot more comfort when I'm doing what I'm doing or when I'm providing my services.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So I can tell, I mean, like when I met you, because you were not congruent to the passion, or not congruent to that thing that you were working on, there was always a struggle between you and the job. And then that was something that I could see that people were putting you down for. You're not the only one, but I could see everybody else who wasn't doing well in terms of billings, which means sales revenue. They were being
Right.
put down in some way. And it's not to blame anybody, but it's just typical, right?
It's a culture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a culture. Winner takes all. Losers means that you're not good enough and all this kind of stuff. But it's not that long ago. I think people don't really, on a macro scale, look at strengths, weaknesses, natural abilities, and unnatural abilities. We just judge based on a certain few metrics. That's why I say, I mean, I see you grow so much. When I was working with you, I could tell that your body language was not strong, confident, um, and you were always slightly skeptical, which is not your fault again. It's again because of the culture that was within you and around you that makes you fear. But yeah, for me, I mean, I think we have another common friend, Jackie, who was again next to me. Before you guys were leaving the company, I wanted to give you something. Remember, I told you, I say like, just go find something that you're good at. Then you probably do much better. Just don't doubt yourself and don't take what people say. I wanted to ask you also like, so how did you plan your route after you finish in recruitment? I saw you went to study your MBA. Was that a hiatus or was that a calling or what was it?
Oh yeah, good question. So I think first of all, like in case anyone from S3 hears this or what, it's not that S3 is a we like when we're not blaming anyone there. I think the nature of the job is such that we have to assess the employees or the team as to whether or not they can build and bring in revenue. And in a competitive, sales-driven environment like that, it is how it is. It is what it is, right? The ones that don't make the cut, they either have to go, or the ones that are kind of like in between. So I remember I was the in between guy. I'm not that bad that I have to go, but yet I'm not pushing through to the next breakthrough. It's kind of like you're put under a lot of pressure, or people say, hey, you're just not that good. So it's just the nature of the job, and the nature of the environment, and then absolutely nothing wrong with that. Uh, as to your question, as to where when I left to do my studies, I have to say the reason I did that is because I was aware, I was self-aware of number one, how happy I am at work. Number two, how good I am. in my job, I always have this rule that, if within 1 year, or at most 1.5 year, you're not doing better than the rest, then this is probably not something that you're good at. So a lot of people say, especially in sales, I've heard it so many times, and people use it to push their sales team so many times. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Go for it. You will make it someday, and you may survive to make it someday. But to be honest, after a year, after 18 months, if you're not the top, or if you're not above average, right, chances are you are never going to be above average in that category or in that field. So maybe you need to go to a sales in another place or something. So I was aware that this is not something that I excel in. I don't have an edge over someone else. I came in with two other employees. I remember one was a lady called Yanto, and one was Manjit, right? This Indian sheik, I think. Is it sheik? Yeah. So I remember that Manjit, by that Yanto had left, but before she left, she was already billing way more than me. Manjit was already like a manager or something, so she was way faster. She was really good at recruitment. And for me, at that point of time, if I'm falling behind my peers. The guys who are doing insurance in the bank, they are promoted. Maybe they are in premium, or maybe they are training to be a manager. So I decided to change. I go to sales in recruitment, and hey, again, I am being left behind. People are running ahead of me. They're becoming managers, or earning a little bit more. So I thought, all right, I need to take a step back. So I'm semi-competitive. I don't like to fall behind. So if I feel like the crowd is here and I was here, I feel like I'm not satisfied. I need the crowd to be here, and I need to be here, right? I don't have to be the top. I'm okay just to be above, but I cannot be behind. So I'm competitive that way and easily satisfied that way. So I thought, what are some of the hacks? How can I then change the angle in which I go in? So why don't I try getting a higher education? That was the bet. And for me, I'm slightly more privileged. My family background, savings, etc., financially allowed me to pursue that. And that's where I thought, all right, let's go study a master's in finance. I like investing, and let's see where that takes me, right? So let's take the risk. I'll give up a year of my professional life to study this, and let's see where this takes me. And I think that for those of you who are listening to this and you're thinking, should I do a master's? I have to say it's really 50-50. I know a lot of guys in their 40s who came to a master's degree with me in finance. They couldn't find a job, and they're back in their old job because they're too old, right? But I know this girl as well. When I get to know her during investment banking, she's from a private university. Now, no offense, I'm not putting private university down, but the truth of the world is that universities have gradings as well. So when you're in investment banking is like the top tier. Right? It's really difficult to get in. Everyone wants to get in. And there was this girl inside who is from IMIT, I think, and she managed to get in frontline sales, but it's because her friend pulled her in. She had a friend who's inside, and her friend pulled her in, and she wanted to get into investment banking origination, like the department I was in. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way she can. So the highest tier is investment banking M&A. Then you have your DCM, you have your ECM. So M&A is the highest. And I remember thinking to myself, number one, there's no way you have the capacity to do M&A because you feel like you're quite a relaxed person. And number two, it's very difficult to get in. People who go into M&A, they are guys from Oxford, from Harvard, from Cambridge. But she, I guess she is similar to me then. She in investment banking struggled then. And then she also took a year off to study masters. And she just pursued it, and she just tried her luck, and she just went for it. So I don't know, is it she lucky or whatever, but after her master's degree, she is in HSBC. I think she's in Morgan Stanley, one of the bulge bracket M&A, which is extremely good. Even if you're first class honors from NUS, you may not get into a bulge bracket investment in banking and in the M&A department. But
define
this friend,
bulge bracket. What do you mean by bulge bracket? Because we don't understand.
Bulge bracket is like the big banks like Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. They are like Deutsche Bank, the big investment banks that is international and is global. So
Mm.
they are the biggest banks in the world, right?
Mm.
So like your DBS, your OCBC, they are like your local banks. So they are a tier below. Yeah. They are a tier below. And then obviously from there you have a tier below, which is like your Malaysian banks, etc. So Deutsche, Goldman, these are top tier, and M&A is the top within the top. So even if you're first
Yeah.
class honor, you need to compete like crazy to get an internship there and a full-time job there.
Yes.
But here was this girl who was from a private uni, didn't even have first class honors from that private RMIT university, RMIT or UL, I don't even remember, and she managed to get in. So I feel like kind of probably an element of luck has a part to play with, an element of tenacity, and an element of faith and belief in yourself. And why I share this story is because I think that I kind of follow the very same path,
Yeah.
right? From a place where like I'm kind of meh, and you just kind of push, and I found my niche is in entrepreneurship, and specifically in crypto.
Wow.
Yeah. So the
That's
the
super
world is
inspiring. Super inspiring
yeah.
story. So a bit about me. I don't want to share too much because this is not about me. This is about you. But I came from RMIT as well. I never did well in school ever. But I know I've always been punching above my weight compared to my friends, whether it's financially, whether it's everything else. And that's why I'm very happy where I'm eternally happy, and I have a lot of gratitude for where I am. Of course, I'm chasing for more, not because I want more, but because I think that there's so much more to give to society. I mean, there's so many underprivileged, underachievers out there that I can really help and bring them up, because that's my life's mission. And what you say is true. So it's 50-50, right? I share you one quick story. I have a friend, RMIT graduate.
Yeah.
He is now he's now a partner at a VC firm. And
Wow.
how he got in was, he did, after he graduated from RMIT, he sent a lot of CVs, nobody bothered about him. But he knew he wanted to be either a venture partner or investment bank. He cold called. He knew he couldn't get into investment bank. Nobody would get CV from RMIT. He cold called every single family office he could find on the internet. Created Excel sheet. Today he's a partner at a VC firm.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I think in Singapore, people put too much emphasis on education. You do
Yeah.
get a certain level of advantage, but I think I've seen a lot of successful people come from the private unis as well. So I think that the world is normalizing. It's not just about an education, about the branding of your school anymore. Universities lah, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true. Wow, that's crazy. So you found your own calling. I know you told me you took a conscious break because your family could afford it, and because um, you already went 4 years without actualizing where you were heading, so you actually took that chance. So tell me a bit more. I know we can share the audience that I know you went to a lot of prestigious internships, right? Um, that I wanted to ask you, why did you not continue into all these management consulting or Thread and Needle? I saw you won the Columbia Thread and Needle investment competition. You did internship there. Why do you not pursue this career? Because I mean, this is like prestigious. You can tell your friends about it. Everybody will be envious of you. Why do you not just carry on?
Yeah, so interesting. Now the internships that I gotten were pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not as prestigious as my friends Morgan Stanley's M&A, but I did get an internship with investment banking. I got an internship at a fund, Columbia Threadneedle, which is a very big fund
Yeah.
from Europe. But to be honest, right, so in our world, right, there's always like Singaporeans always follow that straight path. I just study, I get good grades, I go here. But but in our world, there are always the side paths that have what we
Yes.
call alpha or what we call advantage, that people either are too afraid to try or they just
Yes.
never pay attention. So interesting about Columbia Trade Needle. Now I am an average student, I think. Maybe I'm slightly above average, but I am never the cream of the crop. So I don't go to a Raffles institution, etc. Now in school, there are guys that are really smart, so they are the ones that get straight A's, doing really well, and my GPA compared to them always lose out. But they never got into prestigious roles like investment banking, etc. for a few reasons. Number one, they never try. So they'll just focus on studying. It was a 1 year full-time course, they just study. For me, I knew that even if I study, I get good grades, I may not get an opportunity to go into IB or into a fund. So what you need to get in is you need a network and you need connections. And the only way to do that is to get internships. And the only way for me to win all these like really smart people is to say that, hey, look, these guys may have really good grades, but I have actual experience in an investment bank. So I thought, how do I win them? And how do I win them in an ability that can fit my skill set? So I don't challenge them in study. When they were all studying, right, I went to search for internships. Every day I go to the library, send out applications. Second thing, Columbia Threadneedle Scholarship. Everybody got the email. Everybody knew about this scholarship, which is about, I think, $24,000 or $36,000. It basically covers more than half or around half of your school fees. So everyone got the email. It is from a huge fund, but the submission is right smack during the final exams. So basically everyone in the class wanted to study. The China students, the India students, so you're also competing from overseas. The Singapore really smart ones, they're all studying. I thought to myself, why go for the crowded path? Everyone is chonging for that A that only a certain percentage can get. Why don't I go for this? I get paid money, and in the end, I think that the submissions were, everyone was focused on studying, that they never really focused on submissions. Or by the time they started on the submissions, right, I have a 2-week head start, right? So I won lah. I submitted the best report, but I got a B or a C for my exams. Was it worth it? Sure. At the end of the day, when you go for an interview, the GPA gets you through the door, but the interviewer don't really ask about your GPA. I never got a single question asking me how much did I get for fundamental analysis of equities. No one cares, right? Everyone knows that in the real world, you can learn. First of all, you already have a template on the spot. People will teach you how to calculate the intrinsic value of a bond. Nobody really cares what you study at school. They just need to know that you have the basics, and then after that, they will interview you based on other stuff, and they're more impressed by the things that other people don't have. So I can say, hey, I got a scholarship, right? And I got all these. Yeah, so you just play and play differently.
You actually double down intentionally. You go the road of least most resistant when everybody was going the road of least resistant, and then you double down. But what if you fail the MBA? Do you ever think about that, or you knew you won't fail?
So actually, I went the less crowded path. Yeah, I cannot say that it's the least resistance or the most resistance. I think both of them has resistance, but this is the path that less people know about, and there is less competition, and there is it's like blue ocean, red ocean. I'm not sure if you know about
blue ocean, red ocean. Yes,
right?
that's what I'm thinking in my head right now.
Everyone's trashing in the red ocean, trying to be the king of the shark. I'll just go to the blue ocean and be a dolphin, right? I don't need to be a shark there. I can be very happy. I can be as a dolphin. So I try to go this kind of angle, and in the things that I do, I try to search for that as well. So everyone's trashing around in stocks. They want to find the best stock. I was like, is there another asset class to play with capital? Because every capital is going for trying to find alpha in stock.
Yes.
And I'm competing against the best of the best of the best. If I go to crypto, some of them are pretty smart, but most of them are don't have as good a financial acumen as the guys in traditional investment. They are really smart. So then here I'm playing against NBA players. Here I'm playing against secondary school people on the basketball court. Go play at the secondary school lah. When you win, you get the same kind of reward, right? So that's how I process it, and that's how I try to get an edge over the rest.
Wow, I never knew you thought so much about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is one thing I found about people who find their own success, right? It's introspection. So everything you're saying now is introspection. You bother to think about mistakes you made, and then come out of that loop with progress. Instead of the typical people that me and you, I've done recruitment 11 years, and people don't look introspectively. They look at externally. In 3 years, I must be manager. In 3 years, I need to be director. In 3 years, I need to be managing 17 people, blah, 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 blah. they never think about their own weaknesses. They only think about what they need to get. I need to get this car, this. Then happiness wise, I've seen so many unhappy people, but their only form of happiness is like their title, the number of people they manage, or the house they live in. But it's also superficial. Um, so I'm super impressed by your introspection.
Thanks. I mean, I appreciate that. For me, I think try to be I try to understand what I want in life first lah. Like, do I really need to stay in a landed property in Sentosa? I stop and I try to imagine myself staying there, and I feel like, you know what, I don't really need that to be as happy. Whether I stay in a condo, for example, big condo lah, I like space, maybe 1,005 square feet versus that 3,000 square feet in Sentosa. I think the level of happiness is just like minor, but I need to put in so much hard work to get that minor happiness, then I feel it's not worth it. But of course, there comes a day where Bitcoin goes to $1 million per Bitcoin and I can afford it. I'm not gonna rule out that possibility that I might stay there. Just that if it takes too much effort, just that I'm very clear about what I want. My priority is
Yes.
I want to be able to spend time with my kids. I want to have time to be my parents, with my wife. I want to be able to say, okay, today I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to watch TV the whole day, and I get to do that, and
Yes.
that's happy enough for me. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't need a Ferrari. Although I would love to be able to say, I if I want, I can, that level. Yeah, so that's like what you mentioned. I think it's important for people to have introspection. Is that a word?
Yes,
Yeah,
looking
introspection.
inwards instead of always looking like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. And because of social media, right? I mean, I've been there before. I had Facebook depression many years ago. So
Oh, really?
I was talking about, you were not the person who uses it, but I had a lot of friends back then, 6 years ago, very active. They're posting stuff about like what a new car, new house, and I didn't have it. I wasn't chasing it. But what you see is the front, right? So I felt very empty, and I really,
Mm.
really struggled because that was a hard time of my life where I was struggling financially a little bit. I mean, not as much as most people, but maybe my expectations of myself is very, very high. And I was really unhappy.
Yeah, you're not poor, but you just feel like you want to be able to afford some of the more expensive stuff should you want it. Is
Uh,
that the feeling?
yeah, kind of. So I'm kind of like you. Like I don't want it actually, but I just want to have the ability to have it.
Is the
That's all.
culture, the noise around you. Everyone
Yes, the
have it.
noise.
Club lunch, go to yacht.
Yeah, yeah, like
So
yeah, it's true.
meaningless,
So
right? Right now, you want to go club lunch, you can easily spend $100 to eat lunch. It's not that expensive.
yeah, it's true. So I've been through that, and I even had depression from it. Then I wanted to ask you, like, how do you start this process? Do you read books? Is it because you go to church? Because a lot of books I read is actually correlated to Christianity. Like the Bible tells us a lot of. It already explains to us like the evils of earth,
Mm.
the gardens of Eden. It already explains, but of course, a lot of people write it in different ways for you to understand. So, how do you start this introspection? How do you identify what you want? Religion, books, podcasts, or
So I mean, I'm not sure because it can all be a part of it without me realizing it. Like obviously, it could be church. Being Christian, you will hear about sermons and messages about happiness. About there's some spiritual, important things spiritually that you wanna go for. I read a lot of books. I do like non-fiction books. I like the inspirational kind. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at a very young age. So amongst those, you also have your things like Think and Grow Rich. I do like reading
yes,
those
best book
stories.
ever.
Yeah, and it inspires me, right? It does inspire me. The Inevitable was a book that I really enjoyed as well, that talks about the trends of the world, and I think that from there, that was what got me started in crypto, because it was at a point where suddenly I realized that the world was changing very fast, and I thought that because the world is changing very fast, most people don't realize it, but the ones who do, they have an advantage. So, for example, in recruitment, to me, right, recruitment remains challenging. Like one of the reasons why I left recruitment was because of LinkedIn. And I'm thinking that recruitment firms, they all use LinkedIn. What's stopping one day LinkedIn just starting their own recruitment firm and just dominating everything? And sure, you will always have that few superstars who are really good at finding it. But how many people can be a superstar? And by 1.5 years, I knew I wasn't going to be a superstar already. So to me, that was a dying industry. I think that if I were to stay there, it will be increasingly challenging. The pay is not that great actually in the long run. I calculated even if you earn 10K, in 10 years time, I'll be in my late 30s. A lot of people earn 10K in their late 30s and they don't need to stress out over sales numbers. So I thought like, then it's not that worth it as well. So knowing trends helps. And for me, I think part of that mold me to where I am today. Like you mentioned, like all these books, right? Probably these are the books that brought me to this place. Aside from that, I don't really know. My friends don't really talk to me about it. I don't
Yes.
really listen to podcasts about this kind of things. It's more of, I think life just kind of pans out like to this. And I don't know, maybe you might meet a few people who are in the space already and they tell you stuff and then you suddenly take note about it. Um, that could be one, but majority of your friends won't think like that. It's
Yes.
a different world. It's a very different world. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I've been feeling empty for years and years because I thought I thought about thinking and growing rich since like 10 years ago already. I was thinking about all this kind of stuff, but whenever I talk to people about it, they find it very boring. They just want to talk about the latest, more, I don't know, I don't have the most common topics with all my friends to some extent. But sometimes being weird, you just gotta accept it, and it might be actually a gift. Yeah, but I want to ask you also, like, also, the good thing about you is, I mean, like, you have a fortunate background, and yet you're still thinking about yourself. Whereas you could have taken it easy, um, not care about yourself, and just laze around. So, what drives that? Do you know? Can you think about anything that drives that? Was it childhood memory, or seeing how hard your parents work?
Yeah, I think family upbringing is important. So I do come from a above average family. My parents, they invest in property. They've done really well for themselves over the years. But growing up, they never lived flippantly. In fact, they will always say things like, "Hey, Levi's jeans, $100 for jeans. It's very expensive. Go Giordano, $20-$30 you can buy it." So they always put this in, and
Yes.
they try to reinforce to me the difficulty of earning money and the importance of it. So it's a plus minus, right? Because you don't want to tilt it to a point where you make people or you make your kid feel that 钱很难赚 because money is not difficult, not that difficult to make. But you don't want to tilt to the other extreme that money is too available and you can spend it easily. But they have balanced it quite well, I feel, in terms of growing up. Of course, in our very early days, we were a normal struggling family, right? My parents worked two jobs, both two jobs as in mom and dad work, and then we stay HDB. So in a sense, I didn't grow up in wealth, but I grew into wealth, and that helped, right? That helped making me not spend money too flippantly. And it also helped for me because I feel like knowing that I can if I want, knowing that my family, even if I have no job one day, I'll always have a roof over my head, I always have food on the table. Knowing that, I kind of, like when someone kind of shows off a LV wallet to you, you kind of know at the back of your mind if you really want it, your parents can easily afford it. That also kind of gives me some form of self-esteem and self-security. So it never makes me feel the need to chase another person or to prove to another person that, hey, I can have it if I want to.
Yes. Yes.
The thing that I always feel the need to prove, right? usually only lies with mastery, competency. So if I'm in
Yes.
recruitment, right, it's not about me not earning enough money. It's about me not being as good a recruiter as all the rest. So it's
Yes.
about the competency, and obviously with the competency, the remuneration lah. But usually it's the competency thing that affects me a little bit more. Yeah, so that gives me a bit of awareness into, like your question was what gave me awareness into money, right? Um, if I remember correctly. So that gives me a bit of insights like into money and motivation.
Amazing. I know many years ago they had a portfolio of like quite a number of properties. How many are how big are you guys at now? How big is the portfolio? Like 7 houses, you know what, 15 houses or what?
No lah, don't say better lah.
No, but I remember you told me it was like pretty good, right? It was like from one little HDB, it's like
Yeah,
quite a
at
number of
the
properties,
peak,
right?
I think we don't have that many now because they don't really want to take on any debt. But at our peak, I think we had like maybe 7 or 8.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
at the peak.
I mean, to
Some
people
in
listening to
Malaysia,
this, some
most
people
in
think
Singapore.
that, yeah, to people listening to this, some people think, wow, that's amazing, like it's so rich. But I also hope you all understand that there's a lot of debt behind it, there's a lot of stress behind it. Nothing comes free, right? Nothing ever
Yeah.
comes free.
So there's a few things that happen. Number one, okay, so first of all, to clarify, they came from nothing lah. So basically, everything that they have is from good decision making, investment, plus they work hard. But one thing to note in mind is number one, even though the number sounds like a lot, the debt is a lot as well.
Yes,
It's not as though it was all cash. There was a lot of debt that came from the bank. So now we have reduced that to reduce the debt as well. Number two, during those time in the 2000s, before 2008 financial crisis, uh, property market was very different. There was no ABSD, no SSD. You can buy, you can flip. Everybody was flipping it. Everybody was just kind of piling in. The rules were a lot looser. So during those times, right, the game was different as well. So when you listen to all these stories, always take it with a pinch of salt lah. Like
correct,
there's no free lunch on.
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this from my own family also. My own family, I think not my direct family. I think my grandmother's time at one point in time portfolio was in excess of 20 plus properties and
Mm.
all landed properties, not apartments and stuff. But yeah, the debt numbers was insane. The interest rate was insane, and then compounding interest is actually freakishly scary if you can't pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a hot potato lah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
hot
if it
potato.
when you take out so much debt, when there comes a time where a property crash, or even crash, maybe it corrects 5 to 10% downwards, it actually causes a lot of pain that will ripple. Yeah, so if you're thinking of playing this game, just know how it's played, the rules and the risks and everything.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, that's crazy. Now, okay, I want to ask you one last question, which is like, so how has life changed for you, like with the kid, getting married? I think back then when we were both single, just chasing our dreams, trying to figure, um, yeah, every day we live by our own means or whatever we want. But now, how has things changed in the last 2 years? Your kids now almost two, 1 plus.
Yeah, my camera was a bit blur. So my kid's a year and a half. Life has changed drastically with children.
Yes.
So you cannot go out late at night anymore. Your
Yeah.
weekend, are spent differently. You don't go drinking as much. Or rather, you don't go out drinking as much. The considerations you make, the decisions you make in life, very different lah. So weekends, you kind of think about where to bring your kid to entertain them, to make them expend their energy.
Yes.
Parks,
Yes. Yes.
schools. When you stay in houses, there's a big debate going on about whether or not you want a ballot for primary school. Do your decisions go around your primary school?
Yes.
Honestly, if you're a parent, if you can have it, if you can just stay within 1 kilometer of a good school and it doesn't make much difference for you, you will definitely go for it one. It's just,
Yes.
for benefit of your kids, right? I'm not saying that you should do crazy things about it lah, but I'm just saying it's just in the heart of every parent that if you have that ability to, you naturally will consider it. So that's how life has changed. You kind of slow down a little bit because when you're really, I mean, I think if you really take your parenting seriously and family seriously, you'll realize that, oh, hey, actually, do you really need a Ferrari? No need lah. You buy a 7-seater is also okay. What do you have to prove anymore, right? So in the past, let's say you need to flaunt a little bit. Probably you want to get a girlfriend or you want to get attached. Okay lah, it kind of
Yes,
makes sense.
yes.
Now you think about it, it's like okay, so for me, like, do I still really want to try and get a 6-pack anymore? I've become a bit chubby, as you can see. For me, I'll be like, okay lah, I don't need to work so hard to get a 6-pack, but I think it's still important to stay fit and be healthy because I have to expand my life to have more
Yes,
productive time on earth, to have more time with my family. So physical health is still very important, but it's more for health and longevity rather than for aesthetic. That's
yes,
how I think about it lah. Yeah. That's how
yes.
life
So
has changed.
yeah, this part of actualization, I think you understand that life is no longer about the aesthetics, the material, but it's more about the longer you have on earth, the more you get to enjoy the life you have, provided you are truly happy and sincerely happy inside. Because if you're unhappy and you are unhappy today, probably like long term wise, you can't find happiness, life feels like torture. It's like a drag for you. Yeah, and I know a lot of people who
Agree.
suffer from that.
Agree.
Yeah, I think you know, right? Me and you, we probably know some friends who they work hard, look very happy, but at night they spend their time drinking, get drunk, next day go back to work, do the same thing again and again and again until the weekend comes. They repeat, process, and then yeah, life just keeps sailing this way.
Yeah. Okay, to be really honest, in my circle right now, because like you just your circle of friends just kind of change over time and
Yes.
it kind of evolves. So right now, I don't really know of many friends who are like that anymore because most of them have gotten married or they're in a different stage. But I get what you mean. I think that like just a few years back, the ones your same age ones who are single, I mean, no offense, but especially the girls in their 30s and they still go clubbing and all, it feels a bit weird lah, and you kind of wonder if everything's still okay. Yeah. Like, are they happy in life or not? Like, I always remember some of my friend, one of my friend, she always say, "Oh, even though I'm in my 30s, I don't feel 30s. I still feel like I want to go out there and club and explore the world and have fun." Then I think to myself, okay, let's see. And then recently she got attached, and I think that changed a bit already.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so life is a journey. You don't know what you don't know until you get there and you
yeah,
realize, probably I should have done that. If you read a lot of articles, like everybody doesn't want to talk, don't want to read about you actualizing yourself so early. They rather see you talk about the stories whereby you earn 1 million, blew 1 million, earn 2 million, blew 2 million. That's what they want to be reading. That's the juicy stuff. They don't want you
yeah.
to be the one who's like earn 1 million and drive a Honda. That kind of thing. That's not the juicy stuff. So it's very natural, and that's what everybody is feeling right now. I'm going to move you into your specialty now. Okay. Number one, I just want to praise you. I would say the way you're speaking now, so much more confident than the time I knew you. I give it to you. I really say that the last 10 years has changed so much about you. I don't know whether you see any change in me, but I see so much in you that you become so much more confident. Your words are so much more smooth, fluent. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Firstly, knowing that you are a specialist in crypto, so you are founder of Cryptotrader.sg, I just want to ask you questions that everybody will always ask you, right? Number one, everybody gets all the bad news. I mean, this is part of the media's work, but everybody gets all the bad news about Binance, CoinHako. I wouldn't say bad news, but there's always some controversial news from. Okay, Binance now is facing the biggest. There's the CoinHako Coinbase is good news because they talk about like a massively successful IPO. Um, and then what are the others? All the crypto.com and all the others, which are Chinese regulated, Chinese unregulated exchanges. Do you still think you see crypto being a great asset class and a safe asset class?
Well, so first of all, if you're listening to this, you must know I'm biased, right? Because I'm a crypto guy, I have investment in crypto. There's probably some biasness to what I say and feel, so you just discount that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that let me answer the last question first. Like, is crypto assets safe? So it depends on what you define by safe, right? If your definition of safe means that it doesn't lose value in relation to the Sing dollar or US dollar, then crypto is by no means safe at all. It's very volatile, it moves a lot based on how the markets are moving. And being a new asset class, a newer asset class, it can potentially go to zero. And there are many potential extinction events that can cause it to go to zero. So usually when I invest, right, usually my question is, you're right that there is a possibility that it goes to zero, but there is also a possibility that it doesn't, and there is a possibility that everything that's said about it comes to pass, which is it's a great store of value. Millennials love it. Funds will flow to it. Limited supply,
Yes.
increasing demand might push it up. So it's really up to you, right? Like, it's like, do you want to buy Tesla? 3 years ago, you had the very same question because everyone says that batteries are not going to install enough, it's unsafe. There's no way you can overcome the gasoline car companies, they will crush all EVs. These are stories that they talked about Tesla 3 years, 4 years, 5 years ago. Throughout, they also say Tesla's overvalued. The price is so high, the cars are not coming out. All these things, all these are always the counter reasons to buying it, and it is legit. But then you need to ask yourself, which story to you feels like it will pan out more? And right now, the tables have turned. You can see that the institutions, the governments, they are changing to electric vehicles. Everything has turned. And by the time everything is positive, when you invest, it's too late, it's too expensive already. So you never invest when everything is perfect weather. You need to do it when it is still 50-50 because that's where you get your returns. Your return is correlated to the risk that you take. So the higher the risk or the higher the level of uncertainty, naturally the higher the potential return as well. If you are investing and you wait for the perfect day, governments accept crypto. Every bank accepts Bitcoin. Exchanges are allowed all over the world. Everybody have a wallet in their phone. Okay, I invest. Then where's the upside in that? There is no more good news that is coming already. How much higher can it go when everything is perfect? So that is the thing that we need to think about. In terms of Binance and exchanges, I think it just falls under the whole category of uncertainty and the risk that you're undertaking. Can these exchanges fall? They could. What will happen that when they fall? Bitcoin prices will die or Bitcoin prices will crash. But what if it doesn't?
Mm.
What if it doesn't? When it doesn't, and when you buy it, then you will always have more limited upside. Everything is an element of risk and return, and it is up to you to decide how do you want to play the game, how do you want to formulate your strategies around investing, and how much risk do you want to undertake.
In summary, I
Yeah.
would say, as all investors would say, just be ready and comfortable to lose everything, and also to be ready to gain and have everything else. Correct? Be comfortable
Yeah.
being able to
So
lose everything that you put in there.
for crypto, so for example, if you're talking about your overall financial position, then you obviously should not be thinking, at least for me lah, I don't think you should think that, oh, I'm ready to lose everything, so I whack all these investments. I think that's not the way. You should measure, right? You should say that, okay, I need this much for living, I need this much for my family. These are the things that I cannot lose. I cannot lose this amount. So this amount I put in fixed deposit, or I put in a index fund that is safe, SGS index fund, right? Or a bond. So this amount is the excess, the spare cash. I want this to change my life. So let me put this into high risk. Let me leverage Tesla. Let me do an options trade. Let me do crypto, right? There are many things that you can do, many financial vehicles. So I would say that you need to segregate and you need to have a wholesome planning for your finances. What are the areas that you can lose and what are the areas that you cannot? Yeah.
Mm.
Because if you're 45 and you lose your life savings, it's very difficult to start from zero, right? I know a lot of motivational people will say, oh, you're not starting from zero, you're starting from 45 years of experience. You try to find a job lah. It's very difficult. That's not how the world works. So you need to measure. Yeah.
That's very clear for me. I mean, I've seen this in recruitment as well. We all say that, oh, we live in a bias-free environment, bias-free society. No, every single thing that every single human being does
Yeah.
is biased. 100% is biased. It's based on belief, perceptions, previous experiences. So, yeah, I think that there is so much value to everybody. Okay, I want to ask you this question because I know everybody's going to ask you the next question is tell me the fundamentals of blockchain and the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. I think that one common question, we won't answer it here. I want to ask you what has caused the crypto winter? Like the crypto winter means like that large exodus in the last, was it 3 months already? April, right? Just before everything was climbing like crazy. I know Cardano, Polkadot, uh, Ethereum, BTC was at all-time highs. What has caused this whole winter suddenly?
Okay, so to define winter is a season where there's very low volume of trades and cryptocurrencies being very dependent on trading and liquidity would crash in price and sustain low prices. So that's the definition of winter. Uh, let's look at a 1 year time frame or maybe a 1 year and 4 months time frame. Bitcoin last year was at a low of 3,000. Within the year, it hit a peak of 60,000, which is 2,000% in a year. From 60,000, it corrected down to about 20 plus 30K. And right now, as we speak, it's about 50K, right? So it's kind of like it gone up, go down, and kind of doing this right now. Yeah. So is it a winter? We cannot, to determine whether or not we are really in the midst of winter, these few weeks actually is quite important. As Bitcoin bounced back a little bit to 40K, if it can break through to continue on, we might resume a bull cycle, which would then define the last 3 months simply as a correction, or you can even say investors are taking a rest. They are resting a little bit before going higher. So if that happens, fingers crossed, at least for crypto investors, we want to see Bitcoin break 100,000, maybe even reaching 150,000 by this year or next. But if it doesn't go back up and it then continues to creep down, then we would be very sure that we have entered a winter. So what causes it? Usually it is because after a period of parabolic rise, a lot of early investors, they take profit.
Yeah.
And we call this dumping on the new investors. So they dump to a point where the market kind of have no more appetite to absorb Bitcoin or to absorb altcoins, and everything just tapers down. And it would taper down to a point where Bitcoin would then start to trade in range, right? So maybe for the next year or so, it could trade between 20 to 30,000 before eventually, if history repeats itself, break out and go higher. So because it broke 60K, which is the all-time high, right? We kind of establish like a new benchmark in terms of Bitcoin price already. So as we go into winter, even now, right? If history repeats itself, see how I keep emphasizing that, we should enter a time where the range will still be higher than the previous winter. Yeah, the previous winter you saw the range is like maybe average 5,000, 6,000.
Yes,
So
yes,
maybe
yes,
this
yes.
winter you might see like 15, 20,000. Yeah. So what causes it basically is there is less influx of funds, influx
Mm.
of fresh funds. Means no new investors are coming in, no institution, no governments, and the ones that are left inside are previously onboarded investors who still continue to trade the cryptocurrency.
Wow, that's a very elaborate and very good answer. I want to ask you the other thing is like, so everybody's reading about articles that I get my news feeds every day about Malaysia is destroying $1.8 million worth of Bitcoin mining tools. China is clamping down on these mining tools because they sense it from their energy grids. How does this affect Bitcoin? How does this affect blockchain?
Not much. I mean, the whole idea of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. So if someone loses 1.8 million worth of mining rigs in Malaysia, is actually, to be honest, like hardly a dent to the computing power. The China one is a lot bigger because a lot of farms were located in China. But you realize that once the government came in and clamped down, Bitcoin still works because there are miners in Australia, in America, in all these other countries. Just that the hash power decreases. But from what I read, they are redeploying their mines elsewhere already. They are taking it out of China and putting it elsewhere. Why? Economics is profitable for them to do so. So it would suffer short term. A decrease in the hashing power means it's less secure. But I think it will normalize over time as well. If China doesn't want it, there'll be other countries with cheaper electricity where they can set it up. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting feedback because I know like the power of this is the movement is so strong that I think they can redeploy. And if you say in terms of security, I know there's the Trezor thing, which is like a 2FA now that everybody's buying to make it more secure. But I actually found, I've been trying to learn a little bit about how to trade on BTC and all, but I found it so inconvenient. And it's so hard that I cannot just buy off the rack. I have to try and find somebody I know or find a friend who knows a friend who owns some, and then it's so. The hardest part is, I think I would say, the simplicity of the execution. That's the hardest part about it. But okay, next thing I wanted to just
so the
ask you
onboarding,
the fiat onboarding.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like how do you overcome that? Do you go and learn it yourself, or do you know somebody who taught you?
Okay, I mean the fiat onboarding is easy for me. Just go to the exchange to sign up, you can do it. You just need to find a credible exchange. If the question is how did I find the credible exchange in the very first place? So when I started out, it was 5 years ago and things were a lot less established. I basically had to take the risk to try out the different exchanges and see which are the ones that I like more, that feels a lot safer. Then obviously I go online and do my research as well. So for me, a lot of skill sets that I get are from practicing, just experience. But it takes a longer time and I lose money in the scam exchanges, etc. But it's part of the learning journey for me back then.
And that's why you make a better coach, because you've been through all the difficulties to learn. Instead of just by theory, you roughly know or you read about it. So that's why you'll be a best coach in terms of trading. I wanted to ask you in terms of crypto, because fundamentals are not transparent or fundamentals are very different from the equities market. Do you still trade with the typical tools like, I'm not a trader, so I'm not very smart in this area, but do you still use the head and shoulder method? Do you still use the thread and needle? I learned this back then long time ago, the multiple highs and how many breakthroughs all this kind of stuff. Is it the same?
Higher highs
And lows?
Fibonacci's and all that.
Yes, the Fibonacci's, yes.
So in the world, So in the world of finance, right, there's two kinds. There are various methods of investing and trading. So the things that you mentioned, the Fibonacci, the higher highs and the lower lows, the momentum trade, those fall under trading. They are trading based on technical indicators. So technical indicators are things like your head and shoulders, etc. Earlier, you mentioned about fundamentals, and usually fundamental investments when it comes to stocks are things like how's the business model, what's the market size, what's the cash flow, what's the free cash flow, what's the revenue, etc. So those are fundamentals, and trading, those are technicals. You see how the markets are behaving and you make a decision based on that. They are two different schools of thoughts. For me, I go towards the fundamental side for crypto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do head and shoulders. I don't do Fibonacci. I just have a knowledge of it and just see what they say, but I don't make my decisions based on that. I make my decisions based on more investment theses, thematic investing. So, for example, 3 years ago, I actually bought Tesla as well. 3 years plus ago, and my buying of Tesla has twofold. During that time, it was actually quite high already, $200 pre-split, but it went to 1,800 lah. Anyway, that's another story for another time. So $200 pre-split was actually pretty expensive. When I bought in, right, I was very clear. Why am I buying it? Number one, I like Elon Musk. Irrational, but the way I see it, this guy has the world's attention. He has successfully created multiple companies and succeeded that changed the world, like PayPal. He's whacking this like crazy, and he seems like quite a smart guy. He built, aside from electric vehicles, there's SpaceX, there's solar panels, everything. He has a vision to save the world, which I like as well. So when I put money in, I know that it's narrative. I like the guy. Number two is a thematic trend thing. What Elon Musk says makes sense. Climate change is a real issue that we should be worried about, and it's a thing that I do see governments paying attention to. As such, it does feel like electronic vehicles will eventually become a norm. Because I cannot say that during that time the trouble was that batteries were no good, technology was limited, but everyone knows that technology improves. So for me, I thought there's a bet, a risk I'm willing to take. Last of all is that a Tesla looks very sexy. I know I want it. So if I could have it, I would buy it. And if I feel this way, I'm sure that other people feel this way as well. So based on all these decisions, even though fundamentally the numbers don't make sense, value investing don't make sense, the thematic portion, the narrative of it, the quality of management was good. This was a bet that I'm willing to take. And it is with the same kind of lens that I look at crypto as well. Yeah. So I would say that it is kind of towards value, but more towards thematic and narrative investing.
Value investing and thematic investment. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean,
Because value
I
investing,
also,
you need numbers.
yeah, I also,
Yeah.
I think you know this. I also went in, I think, 200 plus, and I have a large chunk of all my savings into Tesla, just because I think the proof of concept is already done. They are getting market share and everything, and I guarantee myself I'll have a Model X within the next
So
10 years.
how much
How much I have there? I lost.
so how much
I
do you
lost.
pump into Tesla stock?
I think it's multiple of 6 figures. I don't know the exact anymore. I lost track because I'm not checking. I keep buying and buying, but multiples of 6 figures. But the thing is that I want to ask you this question, because value investing and thematic investment. If you say that I buy Tesla because he's doing this, and it's so good, right? Then everybody should be okay. Maybe it's hard to interpret what I'm trying to say, but then everybody should be investing in how to say, solar companies. Like Singapore had Sunseap for so long already. Solar companies have been around for so long already. Hyundai, BYD, they were already doing electric vehicles so long ago. Or all these like welfare companies that are doing like good stuff. Why are we not supporting them? Why we support Elon Musk? Do you get my question? Like, if everybody's talking about welfare and social well-being, then why are we only focusing on Tesla? Is there some form of capitalism in there?
Wait, so are you talking about solar panels companies, or are you talking about car companies? Because they're different industries.
Yeah, as a whole, what I'm saying is that, like, like I find that a lot of people saying like, I invested in Tesla because he wants to change the world, blah blah blah. But every company who has a CEO who goes on stage, right, say he's going to change the world. But I just find that he gets so much good attention, because is it because he makes us money, or is it because he looks sexy? Or I always wonder this question.
Because he founded PayPal.
Yeah,
Because he
I think so
co-founded
too.
PayPal, and he succeeded. He made money from PayPal. It's one of the biggest payment companies in the world. So he has a track record. every other CEO doesn't have a track record.
That's true.
He has
That's
a
true.
track
I get
record
you.
of building something from scratch, and it's just like right now, if someone comes out and say, I want to make augmented reality, would you trust the guy from Coke, right? A CEO of Coke, very capable guy, or would you trust someone like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Because they belong in that category that created something that changed the world. Where CEOs of established companies, they are good managers, but they may not have created something that changed the world before, and you rather bet on the guy who has done it before. Yeah,
Wow. So you
I
know what
guess.
this goes back
Yeah.
to? This goes back to what we just said just now, like almost 30 minutes ago, which you talked about your strengths and weaknesses. Because you knew your strengths, you knew where you would succeed. And that's I think where value investing is, right? They kind of like know where the founder can get the company because we know his strengths. He's the category that he's
Mm,
correct. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's
yeah.
pretty good learning about value investing today. My last question to you is okay, so you had a lot of bad experiences with all the different scam exchanges, right? And I find that it's so easy to start exchange. How how do you differentiate a right exchange versus a wrong exchange? Are there any telltale signs?
Usually you have to, I don't know, usually it's experience, and usually I use social media quite a lot. I just kind of trust some of the things that people are talking about. Social media, if actually is no good, they would write about their comments there as well. So
Hmm.
you just need to sieve through, and then when you join yourself, you yourself have your own experience with how well the exchange is run. And then of course you can also read about some of the past things that have happened, red flags. For example, if an exchange was hacked, did the exchange protect their customers? If they did, probably this is a better exchange. uh, Inherently though, you just need to know that even the best exchange could collapse. Yeah, so if the best exchange can collapse, then you might as well go for the ones that have demonstrated better performances, who have treated their users better in the past. So you just kind of need to read through news, social media, use their platforms, and then from there you make a decision.
Then may I ask you this question, like for with regards to exchanges, right? If I were to use, let's just say Binance, right? If Binance collapses, do I lose my coins? No, right? Because it's kind of like in Singapore with the SGX and the TDP. Even if the SGX collapses, we still have the TDP. So for
uh
coins, isn't it the same?
no leh. It also depends on the exchange, but I think on something like Binance, if it disappears or if it dies off, you'll probably lose your coins as well.
Really? I thought it's
Yeah,
just as long as you store it in that wallet,
there's some
that
insurance lah in place. There may be some insurance in place, but I think the better assumption is to just assume that you will lose your coins.
wow, I never think of it that way before. So you could be a overnight billionaire who loses everything because the exchange goes down. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Blows my mind. And then the other thing is you could be an overnight billionaire, but you just can't sell your coins to anybody. So you are just a paper billionaire. That could also be a scenario.
You're right as well.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Ah, no wonder that's why I say there's a road of least resistance. So I think I don't know if you know this, but I also want to educate the audience that this very famous book is called Money Master the Game by Anthony Robbins. So he talks about mutual funds. They take a lot of fees. Percentage fee they say is 1%, but if you compound everything plus all the hidden fees, it could be 3+%. But everybody goes to mutual funds because they know mutual funds easy to get in, get out. Especially it's easy to get out. When you sell, they must buy from you. But BTC stocks, there's a higher gain, but it doesn't mean that when you become a millionaire, you can liquidate it, right? There's no guarantee somebody will buy it from you.
For the bigger coins, it should be okay. But for the smaller coins, and that's where people fall for a lot of scams because they buy tiny coins that on paper the price goes up, but when they try to liquidate it, they realize that they can't. So for the smaller coins, that's the case. But for Bitcoin, Ethereum, you can probably liquidate a few million and it won't be an issue.
Yeah, I guess so, because of the trading
Yeah.
volume, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I just have one last question, very curious question, is that there's so many scams going on, because you are the one who talked about it. There's so many scams going around of companies helping you trade. That means they're not exchanged. They're helping you trade. They take your money, they trade for you. I think there's a recent case in Singapore, talk. I think it's $400 million scam. So can I ask you, how does that work? Is it they take a cash deposit from you, or they take I don't know, how does it work? And then how do they exit as well?
Exit? What do you mean? You mean how the scams run away?
Yeah, how does it run? Like, how do you orchestrate it?
So Ponzi scams, what they do is that you put money with them
Mm-hmm.
and they say they'll give
Cash.
you 5% a month.
We're talking cash, right?
Yeah,
You
so
you
let's say
don't
they
you
take
don't convert it
50,000
for them
from
yet.
you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a Ponzi scam. You don't have to convert. So if you give me 50,000 on a Ponzi scam, I'll say, okay, next month you can take 5% back from me, which is 2005.
Hmm.
I take your 50,000 and I pay all the previous people their $2,500, and I tell you to invite more people in, and then I then use your friend's money to pay you, and then use your friend's money to pay you and your friend. So it works until it doesn't. At one point of time, not enough money, it runs out, the scam collapse. So that's how talk works.
So the mechanics is exactly same like every other Ponzi scheme. Because I thought in a crypto Ponzi scheme, even harder for you to cheat me, because there's all these complexities of having to convert the money from fiat money to coins to have a wallet, and I can see my wallet, you can see my wallet, and all this kind of stuff. Still, it can happen.
Because you give money to talk, you don't get coins. What? You are putting money with them,
But you get a
right?
title deed or contract.
Yeah, then I don't need to convert coins. What? I just print a title deed and give it to you. There's
Wow,
no token.
this yeah, I mean, okay, because I want to educate people who might be listening to this, interested, and then again, this
Yeah.
resistance. Instead of me trying to find out so hard the methods to trade, buy, and listen, why not I just find a reputable guy who does it for me? And that's why people fall for scams, because it's the easiest way out. But you're telling me that there are a lot of telltale signs actually.
Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, but if something is too like they'll just use their own money, right? Why would they take money from you? They might as well borrow it from a bank. Why
Yes.
give you that 5%? If that thing really generates 10% a month, why share half with you? I'll just borrow money from a bank at 1% and I'll keep 9% for myself. So it doesn't make sense, what? Yeah.
I know why they will always say
It,
that, because like me doing business, I can understand what they'll reason out to give you is that, oh, the bank won't lend us because there is no reasoning, and it's, they won't do unsecured. They want to have some form of a guarantee. That's the reason how the rise of P2P lending has come about. P2P lending is the most sexiest and nicest form of funding for companies that cannot get bank money, because whether they are doing entertainment business, they are doing some illegal business like marijuana or all this kind of stuff, this kind cannot get funding because the banks evaluate them as high risk, non-compliant, and all this kind of stuff. And that's how P2P funding has grown so much, exploded basically. So that's one of their reasons. Because I've done business for a while, and I've seen
yeah.
so many businesses that want P2P and they're willing to pay super high interest as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so then let's put it this way. If you have a algo trade that guarantees you 10% a month, you don't need go retail, you can go institute. You can go to
True.
a fund, and a fund with hundreds of millions of dollars can easily give you 10 million. You just show them your product, right? You don't need to go to retail. Retail is more difficult to deal with, more administrative work to pay out, more legal loopholes to run through. So why would you go retail? You need to explain and understand why. If not, you go to a fund, right? Or you go to high net worth individuals. So that's what I think lah, right? These are some of the telltale signs. I mean, there are different mechanisms behind it. There's also bot trading, which to a certain extent is true. When you put money there, the bot trading can make decisions for you and it can give you a better return. And the bot writers just get a cut by subscription or by a cut of the interest rate. So they do exist, the real ones, but it's hard to find. And it's not nearly as profitable as promised by all these Ponzi scams. The Ponzi scams really promise you very high returns at the guaranteed results, which is not possible.
True. The bot trading thing has really risen a lot. I do recruitment, so I get a lot of calls for quant traders all the time from the large guys like SquarePoint, the banks, and all the small ones. I right now can't pull it off all my head, but the Bridgewaters, the Bill Ackman companies, they're all trying to find quant traders who can use the Python to code and optimize their systems to actually get the right algo trading. I just have one curious question to close this all off, right? Why do you choose crypto? So 10 years ago I was in finance like you, but I was doing funds. You could before crypto you could have looked at, let's just say I was looking at wine. 10 years ago I was promoting wine funds, wine unit trust, fine art unit trust, the Sotheby's and all this that were making money. You could look into distressed property assets kind of asset class, or you could look at debt deposit asset classes. What made you choose crypto 5 years ago and immerse yourself into it when it was so unproven?
I think it was just luck. I saw it and I thought, okay, let me try. And then I tried, and then I researched a bit about it. We learned about the philosophy, about how the price had been like in the last, during that time, it was about 5-6 years. So it was really more of luck that I chanced upon it, and I just kind of liked it. So that's it. No particular reason.
Oh, but it's really cool, no? Because okay, with that thought process in mind, you just say it's luck, but if you think about it, you started at a road that is equivalent to all the investment bank guys or everyone else, because there was no fundamental blockchain back then that he might be better than you, he might be smarter than you, he might be more experienced than you. There's no one. Everybody started at the same time. So that gives you that awesome edge. But it's quite crazy to say that that awesome edge came from your interest and came from a little bit of research.
Yeah, so a lot of people who started during that time, I mean, they might be lucky too that they came in, but a lot of them from finance background, when they started, there was just less competition. So I know a guy, I mean, I don't really know him. He's just this random guy online, right? He turned 20,000 into 9 million over a span of 3 years. Yeah, 20,000 into 9 US dollars.
Trading or buying and holding?
He didn't just trading, he just buy and hold. Study a project, he thought that this was really good. He told everyone that this was really good. He said, as proof that I really feel that this is good, I just want y'all to know this is my public address. I'm putting 20,000 here, as you guys can see on this date. Let's see what happens in 3 years. And he went from 20,000. So he just totally retired. He was a finance guy. I'm not really sure who he is real life, but he basically retired. He has 8 figures now, and he also retired his blog. He retired his Twitter account. He just disappeared because of security reasons. One day he just came in and said, okay guys, for these 3 years I've been teaching you a lot, but right now the space has changed, and I made a lot of money, so I'm retiring, bye. And he disappeared. And it's real, right? His public address is there. He showed you the dates tally, the transaction when he said it, and it's a public address, so you know that there is 9 million US dollars over there. And he said this is just the public account. I'm not going to show you my private account, so you know that he has more than 9 million.
Wow,
without a
that's
doubt.
crazy.
He's an figure.
And purely using Bitcoin?
No lah, he bought an altcoin 3 years ago. It was an altcoin.
An altcoin, wow. And but it's just crazy. Yeah, so that's the thing. I think everybody now, you see all the memes and all the young guys or 20s who are throwing all kinds of money into crypto, just hoping one day they become rich. It's quite scary. Just based on one use case, they believe that this could be them, which I think is kind of dangerous also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I tell you what, I think I want to also put up some information for how people can find you. Can they find you at Cryptotrader.sg? Would that be correct?
Yes, so they can head over to Cryptotrader.sg and then they can just read a bit more about what our company does.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chris.